Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video we are talking all about some interior design details that your home might be missing that will give your home that designer look, feeling, and polish. So let's get into the video. Now this first space is one I really love, and I love using these spaces as examples for you so you can really get a feel of what I'm talking about. And this one has so much color and contrast. And that's one of the design details that can really elevate your home and make it feel interesting and unique. Now this specific space, I don't know if it's a library or a den, a rec room, or what the space specifically is intended for, but I do know that it makes a statement. This bold contrast between the two colors, this teal and this kind of mustard tone, really play nicely off each other. And while I'm not maybe the biggest fan of each color separately, I think together they actually are very interesting and unexpected. I think this works. This would be a great feature to add into a smaller space or an enclosed room like a den or a breakfast room. This might even be a library, and I think that's fabulous, obviously. Something to note in this space is that the color encapsulates the space. So everything is painted in this teal color, all of the shelves, all of the trim, the ceiling, the molding, the details, and then it's all accessories and this upholstered banquette that are actually in this mustard-like tone. And we've also got some gold in there because they play off of each other nicely. So having that really strong contrast actually gives the space that really gorgeous designer finish and polish. This next space, once again, is something I love. I love all of these spaces I'm sharing with you, and you're gonna hear that 1,000,001 times, but this space I really love because of the contrast in style. Now, architecturally, you can look at the space and see we've got this like plaster molding detail on the ceiling, and we've got a lime wash on the walls, which is just gorgeous. But what I really want to focus on is actually the furniture used in this space. We have this really fantastic postmodern style sofa that I absolutely love. I think is so great, and this contrast of gray in the space is actually super interesting. And we've got that layered on top of this beautiful rug that's pulling from the wall colors. We've immediately got this cool gray color contrasting with the warmer tones happening in the space, which immediately makes things feel very interesting. We have a very contemporary side table, but right on the other wall from that, we have something really, really traditional, a beautiful table with a carved marble lamp. Now this plays nicely because we've got a reference in the materials. They're referencing each other, and I think that's really fantastic, especially when you have something that is really traditional and something that's very contemporary. But having this one really cool vintage piece of furniture, this table that the lamp is sitting on, with all of the contemporary things happening on the other side of the space, it creates a sense of imbalance, and it creates this really gorgeous tension within the space that I think is really beautiful to incorporate into your home. Don't let all of the beautiful architectural details that might not be available to you deter you from taking some of this as inspiration to incorporate into your own home. This next space is so beautiful. It's a really, really gorgeous bedroom. And I think that this space in particular is really beautiful because we have that mix of styles happening, right? We have a velvet headboard with the channels. It feels very traditional. This floral pillow that I absolutely love mixed with an actual floral arrangement. So I think this is all playing really nicely off of each other. But this space actually feels very contemporary, very modern and current because all of the lines are broken up and we have a lot of layering happening here. So I want you to look at the actual height of the mattress, which is slightly lower than the top of the nightstand, which then is slightly lower than the top of the pillows that are stacked up next to it, which is slightly lower than the floral arrangement, which is lower than the headboard, which is lower than the lamp here. Because we have all of these different levels happening within the space, it feels very contemporary. It feels very current. And I actually really think this is fantastic to have this kind of wall-mounted sconce that angles you can use as a reading light instead of a lamp on your nightstand, especially if you have either a really small nightstand or a really large nightstand. Now I also want to show you this space here, which is really interesting. It's a beautiful bedroom, but you've got a sconce here that's perfectly level with the headboard. This feels a little bit more traditional. The entire point to take away from this space we're showing you is that it's all in the detail. It's all in the way the lines work and the way things add up, the way things are placed within the space that make it either feel contemporary or traditional. If you like that more traditional style, add a lamp that is either below or right lined up with the top of the headboard. If you want something that's more contemporary, layer things together and have them overlap. It creates this really organic flowing sense within the space. Let's have a look at this next space. I think that this is so beautiful. I absolutely absolutely love this antique vanity we have here happening. And what I want to show you in this space is you can take something that feels very traditional like this and make it feel very current or contemporary. And I think this is a really great example of that. Actually, this gorgeous little vase and floral moment I have happening here with all of the neutral off-white happening is also a great example, but we're not talking about me, we're talking about the spaces at this moment. I think that this is specifically really gorgeous because you have all of this really strong contrast in the wood tone with the white background, but it's all also in the layering because we've got a number of accessories styled on this piece. And while it can look a little bit cluttered, I think that, you know, it's a little bit overly prop styled, that's okay, but we have a lot of white references happening here that are referencing back to the wall color. Also, I want you to have a look at the actual detail in the mirror that this like stands for the mirror. We have a turned detail happening here, and this is really great. You see it on a lot of furniture legs. This is a beautiful piece because we've got that a little bit higher, but I want you to look at the candlesticks opposite that. They're all featuring some of these same details and turned qualities. I think that is really great, and it makes this piece feel more contemporary than it is. The important thing to take away from this space is you want to make sure you're incorporating some of those details and references into the decor within the space to make it feel very current and up to date. Now, I know some of these spaces are so gorgeous, and at times it can feel unobtainable to do that in your own home, which is why every week I create content for you to teach you how to achieve this in your home and to inspire you in your space. So if you haven't already, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, join the LeChic family, and let me know in the comments section after you've joined so that I can personally welcome you to the channel. Now, this next space is one you know I absolutely adore because I love a wallpaper, especially a mural like this. I think it's really interesting, and we have a grayscale happening here. But what I want to point out is actually that this space has gray in it, and we got away from gray. We're getting past it, we're moving on from it, and we're pretty excited about it, but I don't want you to just look in the opposite direction because gray is gray, right? Like, it can actually be a really, really powerful tool to use in a space like this one. So I'm really loving that we have the grayscale black and white wallpaper happening here, but then the cushion is also in that gray tone. It's something that's very textured and rich looking. We've got some black, some white, some lighter grays, some darker grays in it, which creates a good reference back to that wallpaper, right? But what makes this space feel warm and not cold or stark is actually this really warm beigey tone we have happening on the base of this banquette, and that's being referenced in the pillows. And this pillow actually has a check that has this warmer beige and a white, which is referencing back to the wallpaper, and I absolutely adore that. I think this space was so well designed, and I think this color scheme is really phenomenal. And the whole point to take away from this is, once again, referencing, especially with something like a gray, like this colder tone we have happening that people are getting away from. You can make it work for you in your space by incorporating and layering in some of those warmer tones, but having something that connects those pieces all together. It makes it flow seamlessly together and makes it look intentional. And this space actually looks really warm, really rich, and really layered, even though we have a lot of gray and black and white happening. This next space is actually something I've used in examples before because I think it's really well designed, even if it's not 100% my personal style. This space has an amazingly fitted rug that works really beautifully with the bedroom space. I love the ceiling detail that's happening, but what I really want to focus on here is actually the drapery. You all ask a lot about drapery, and I actually went in deep in my 5 difficult to decorate spaces in your home video, which I will link in the description box for you and here in the cards above, but I really love these. And what I want you to take note of here is that these are actually pinch pleats with shears. Now, to get this really full look, you typically will take the dimension, the width of the window, and multiply that by 3. So in this instance, it is a door, and we've got sets of doors that are probably about 6 feet wide, which is pretty standard. We multiply that by 3. So instead of having 6 feet worth of fabric there, we actually want to have about 18 feet. However, with a pinch pleat, you lose half of the width of the fabric. So we take that 18 feet, we split that in 2. So we have 9 feet on each side, and then that gets cut in half because of the pinch pleats. So we end up with about 4.5 feet of actual usable drapery here. This is really great in this case because each door is 3 feet, so we have 4.5 feet, and that gives us enough slack that the drape is not pulled tight when it's closed, and we get a little bit of overlap, and it feels very full and very lush. You'll hear a lot of different things out there, but if you take the width of that window and multiply it by 3 for the overall width of your drapes, you will get a very beautiful, full, and luxurious looking window treatment. Now this next space isn't maybe one that, you know, the style of is my own or that I would do myself, but there is something in this space that I absolutely love. And if you look closely, you can see that we have some wall switches and we also have outlets. Now this is a European space, so we have European style outlets here, and I wouldn't put them up where the actual light switches are, but this is an example of a space that has light switches next to the bed, and I love that. So you can see we have a ceiling mounted pendant light for a night light or a lamp on the side of the bed, and I think that works really nicely, especially because we have a smaller nightstand here. But having those switches next to the bed, okay, it is the utmost modern convenience to incorporate into your space. This can be done by an electrician, and you may have to open some drywall to add it in afterward, but if you're building, if you're renovating, speak to someone, your builder, your electrician, and have it added in. Have a light switch added for the actual lamp on your nightstand, and have one added for the overhead fixture on both sides of the bed. That way you don't have to get out of bed to turn the light on and off. There, you can just hit the switch and boom, the light goes on and off. I love that. I think that is so luxurious, so amazing, and definitely something to incorporate into the spaces in your home. So look for those modern conveniences that really are a game changer in terms of the convenience in your home. I am absolutely obsessed with this space, with the styling of these shelves, and this is the next thing we have to talk about. I think the styling here is so amazing. I think this looks really great, and you all ask me all of the time how to style bookshelves, and this is how you do it. So if you look here, we have a really traditional space. We have a very traditional East Lake style chair, and the actual bookcases have a ton of moldings and arches. We have art lights here, really, really gorgeous, but everything is very tonal. All of the accessories we have happening are very neutral in tone. We have a lot of brass and gold happening, which makes everything feel very modern. And I think that is also something to take away from this, is look at the styling, keep the colors consistent, and that will give you a very modern feel in a more traditional space. But I love the styling in this because if you look down low, we have things that we access, like books that we want to get to, that we want to read. But up by the ceiling, we have bigger pieces. These are more statues, collectibles, things that maybe this person got on a trip or something. I think that's fantastic. So having that stuff where you can see it, but you maybe can't access it because you don't need to, is really convenient. But then down below, having things that you actually reach for is wonderful. The key to take away from this space is focus on functionality in everything, whether that's a bookcase or whether that is anything in your life. So make sure that what you actually need to reach or use is reachable and usable, and then the rest of your things can serve as display and can be a beautiful moment in the space. Here we have a fantastic space that I really like, but what I admire about this space is that it is a smaller area, but we've got these built-in units. And so adding those built-in units to some space that is a little bit tighter can actually gain you the most storage possible, because you're not wasting any of that space with just random gaps of space, but also it creates a built-in unit that's a little bit more condensed or pushed away. It's a little more compact, leaving you more usable space. Now, you might look at this space and be like, Garrett, that's not a small space. It's huge. It looks big. And I hear this all of the time in comments. You're like, Garrett, that's great, but show us some pictures of small spaces. There are certain things to keep in mind, and one of which is the way spaces are photographed. This space here is probably about 10 by 10, which for a living room is not that big. It's not maybe the smallest living room ever, but it certainly isn't large. And the camera angle makes it look a lot bigger. But also, a well-designed space can trick your eye into seeing something that's much larger than it is. So when you see some of these photographs and you're like, that's a mansion. Garrett, that's a mansion. This next one, it's also a mansion, and I don't live in one of those. Don't sit there and think you can't have any of this or it won't work in your space. Don't have that mindset of, my space is too small, it won't work. There's no such thing, and you can take any of these design principles and apply them to any size space or any type of space. Just because I show you a grayscale banquette doesn't mean you can't take some of those ideas and incorporate them into a living room, a dining room, a bedroom, or a bathroom, or whatever you have in your home. So don't be discouraged discouraged by the size of your space, thinking you can't have something because the camera angle may be making it look bigger, or maybe it's just a bigger space. But design doesn't have a size. It's not one size fits all. You can incorporate it into any space. Look for those principles and incorporate them into your home in a way that suits your space. I love this next space. I think it's so gorgeous. And a big part of that is because it's actually like a gorgeous city view of New York City, which I love. I think is so spectacular. Actually, I guess this is more of like a river view, but that's maybe not the point. I love a view, right? Big panes of glass. It's gorgeous. What I want you to take away from this space is actually the fact that all of these furniture pieces can be easily moved. And this is for a number of reasons, one of which is because New York City, moving in and out of apartments, you'd like to have pieces that are a little smaller, a little bit more movable. But also, you can move these pieces to accommodate whatever needs you have in the space. If you wanted to do yoga in the middle of your living room, you could slide all of this furniture over pretty easily and do yoga in your living room. If you're having a big party, you could add more chairs, you can move them around, you can adjust the furniture layout to accommodate whatever your needs are. So do not underestimate the power of these smaller pieces layered together. And also, if you are in a space that you find needs to be more convertible, add some of those smaller pieces that are movable for you. Don't be afraid to pull up a chair from the dining room into the living room because you need more seating. That's the lesson to take away from this space, because it's a beautiful space, but it's also a convertible space. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure you share with me in the comment section down below, because I want to hear from you. I also would love to know, what is one design detail you think every home needs, every space needs, but so many people are missing? Because I want to hear from you, so sound off down below and give this video a like. Be sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. And I also know that you know someone that they could use a little bit of this advice. They need some of these details, they're missing out on them, they're redesigning and decorating. Share this video with them, because friends help friends. And I will see you in the next one.